against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Cause baby, I feel real good and I wish I would. Watch out now. It's gotta be against the law to look this damn good. Watch out now. Everybody watch out. Watch out now. I'm ready for a good time, and I came to groove. The whole band's here, and we came to move. Got a fresh haircut and 2 new shoes. We're here all night like we got nothing to lose. Coming out the jacket, cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get up out your seat. It's time to make it happen when we hit these streets. I'm coming in hot, and I can't be beat. Watch out now.
Hello, world. Welcome to Chuck Levin's Live, episode 7. Things have changed certainly since last week. We're now in phase 1. As you can tell, my facial hair is now phase 1 shaved. And what does that mean for us at Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center? It means we are doing curbside pickup. So if you want to come out to the shop and you want to talk to one of the guys and you want to see some stuff and pick it up in the store, outside the store, you certainly can. We have information on our website, chucklevins.com, so check it out there. And we're trying to figure it out just like everyone else is, so bear with us. But we are ready to rock and roll. The guys are here. The girls are here. The team is here. In the store, we are all wearing masks. I have anyone around me very far away from me right now, so I can do this stream with you guys. But we're doing it. Washing our hands every hour as mandated, cleaning every surface, cleaning every instrument as necessary, and certainly wearing masks at all times. So if you do come out to the store, please wear a mask also. That's for the good of ourselves and for you and for the customer and for the community at large. So we appreciate it. We're happy to be back. We're ready to rock and roll. And we got a pretty cool stream today. We have one of our great partners. I'm in the KORG area of our keyboard department here at the store. It's great to be back in the store finally. And we have James from KORG here. KORG is one of our longest and dearest partners. We've been doing a lot of stuff with them, and to be honest, they've been on a tear for the last couple of years in the synth world. Not that they've not been known as a king of synths throughout history, but certainly the last couple of years they've really hit a stride. And I think it's just time we jump right into it. Let's bring James from KORG in, and let's jump right into this thing.
Hey man, good to see you. How you doing out there? It's good to see you back in the store, man.
So good to be back. It feels good. It feels good to spread our wings and do this thing again. So it's really good to be back.
Cool, man. And thank you for having me, man. I'm really grateful to be on here with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get into like a lot of this, the awesome stuff you wanna throw down and groove out and all that kind of stuff, we do have a super cool giveaway sponsored by you guys at KORG. Today we're featuring on our stream today the KORG New Tech NTS1, which is a super cool DIY, like incredibly deep synth that we're going to dive into today. So if you're watching the stream right now and you want a chance to win one of these things, tag a friend in the comments, tag another synth nut, tag another synthesist in the comments, and we'll pick a winner at the end of the stream. So stay tuned for that. But other than that, James, I'll let you kind of take it from here and dive right in.
Awesome, man. I'm going to jump in with a musical intro, and then I'm going to kind of break it down. All right. So here we go. Today we're going to be using 3 really cool synthesizers and 1 utility Volca as well. So we've got our Monologue monophonic analog synthesizer. We've got the aforementioned NTS1 DIY synth, and we have the New Bass, a bass synthesizer. Let me bring that up on the screen real big, and let's have a little fun. This, by the way, is being used as an effects processor right now, in addition to being an awesome synth. All right, so let's check out what's going on here. So we have the Monologue, as I mentioned, analog synthesizer, and this is just a really awesome, just monophonic analog synthesizer. Its characteristics are having a tremendous dry filter. It's analog, fully analog. We have a nice biting filter here that really does a great job. And it's derived from the Minilogue. So it's the same signal path as the Minilogue in a monophonic synthesizer. 25 keys. You'll also notice E to E. That's for things like bass synthesis. You know, it makes it really easy for to understand if you're playing bass, like synth bass. Awesome. Here in this stream, we're going to be using this a little bit more as a rhythmic synthesizer because it also does a really, really good job of that. You can do some really cool stuff with the sequencer on board, and I'm going to get into that as well. But just basically stuff like this, where you can play with the motion sequencer and capture those knobs, doing different things with the filter. Here we have the Vulcan New Bass. New Bass is a really interesting bass synthesizer, and we're going to dive really deep into this as well. You may be asking yourself, well, there's a couple of Volca's basses in the line. You know, what's the difference here? Well, the New Bass, first of all, is based on new tube technology, and that is, in fact, a real tube built into the Volca. And what that does is it's acting both as the oscillator and as the drive. So you've got a dual-purpose tube built in there. And it really has a really, really buttery, nice characteristic. You got a dedicated drive circuit here as well. And a lot of things here that go random. And I'm going to get into that in a minute as well. And then over here, we have the NTS1. NTS1, just to break it down, you know, Adam did a really good job. And I want to add to that by saying that you are getting with this, the multi-engine from the Prologue Minilogue XD. And it's a monophonic version of that, plus the multi-effects processor from the Minilogue XD, which is a triple multi-effects processor. So you have your modulation, your delay, and reverb, all with multiple selections in there, all with individual control. So there's a lot of power going on here. And we're going to be using it both as a synth as I did, but a lot more as a effects processor because, I mean, me personally, I love just like bathing analog synthesizers in reverb and just like making them just open up. And it's just so totally awesome. Here at the top, just to give you an idea of what's going on here, this is kind of like running the show here. I mean, besides myself, this Volca is the Volca Mix. The Volca Mix does a lot of really cool stuff. First of all, I should point out that the Volca is powering itself and the Monologue and the Volca New Bass. So I've got one adapter rocking all of those, and I could do that with batteries as well. These are all also battery powered if you so chose, but this is the power system right here. I got a line going here and a line going here. So this is completely controlling the power. And that really makes it cool for like a system like this where you don't want a lot of adapters hanging around. It's just really efficient. You'll also notice a transport button blinking here. That's because the Volca Mix also controls the tempo. So it could be the master for a number of our products. So anything with our audio sync in and out, as you're seeing here, what I'm doing is running the sync out from here as the master into here, and then here to here, and then here to here. So everything in the system is clocked completely together. And that's what allows me to do these great sequences together and add on the arpeggiator and make sure that it's always in time. I could change the tempo on a whim right here with the knob. There's also a couple little cool cut tricks on this. It's got a bass and a treble isolator on each channel. There's also a mute, so that it gets into some cool performance stuff as well. So I'm going to stop talking for a little while. If you have questions, by all means, you know, throw them into the feed. We're all going to be happy to answer them for you. And I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of what I kind of preset here. So I'm going to pick this. Again, we're already transported here, so this is a cool little rhythmic thing going on there. And then over here, I'm just going to load my first bass. Take down that effect for a second. Let's start trying. So the first thing is, right now we're just listening to the New Bass. This is your basic synth tone. Everything's off, except pretty much for the cutoff. And a little bit of resonance. Just want to take you through that filter for a second. Yeah, Roger, definitely. Volca Bass also sounds great. A little different, and it's got a 3 oscillator system, and you can kind of peak those apart, or you can do them in unison. So it's got a little bit of a different characteristic. Also, I want to point out that the sequencer on this is a little different in how you can handle some data, and I'll show you that in just a minute. So this one's for you. So I haven't added anything yet to this. I haven't added the Saturator, which is the sub oscillator, and I haven't added the drive yet. So let me just bring in a little of that. So here's the drive. And here's the saturator, which gives you this sub oscillator, and you control the level of that. You also have a dedicated tone control. Make it a little brighter if you want to, or darker. And as you can see, as with all Vulcas, it's incredibly easy. It's all top level stuff, and there's no menu diving, there's no anything. What we do to take advantage of these 16 step keys here is we also put a lot of parameters on them, but they're one-touch parameters. So I know it's a little hard to see from where we are right now, but we have things like shift. So this bass line that you're hearing, all I have to do is hit the function button. I could shift the entire sequence so that step 1 becomes step 2 and 3 and 4, and then the other parts wrap around like this. Watch. There's also transpose. So here you could choose which steps get transposed automatically. So I've got this cool bass line going. So let's say I want to just do something like this. All the steps that are lit are not going to be transposed up 1 octave. If you don't like that, or you want to try something else, you're feeling like a little like, I want to play around, just hold the function button and hit random under transpose, and it will randomize that for you. So you write one bass line, and then you're starting to play around with it in different ways, and you can hear it in different ways, and it helps you to do that. So accents are the same thing. So here you could choose which parts get accented. So I'm going to accent every other step. You have a dedicated accent control, how much accent you want. But then you could also just randomize that. So now it's going to do it for you. And this will change the overall feel for what's going on. So it's really inspirational in a way. Like you start with a bass line, but then you get to play around with it in new and different ways without a lot of programming. All you have to do is hit a button. It's like, oh, I really like that. And if I really like that, I could write that wherever I want. You got 16 different paces to write it to. I'll write that to 11 for now. You could also do slides. So you can hear there's a couple of notes that are blending into each other, right? Because I reprogrammed that. If I didn't want anything to blend into each other, I could just shut all that off. Then you're hearing just that raw bass line that I did before, right? But then you can, again, randomize that. So let's put random slides in. The one other trick that I wanted to outline here is the motion sequencing. So in addition to being a 16-step sequencer, it's also an incredible motion sequencer. That means that you can grab any knob on the panel and record that into the 16 steps. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to hit my function button. I'm going to make sure that motion sequencing is on. See that little light come on right there? And then I'm free to record what I want. So I'm going to do a little bit of recording on the cutoff and the resonance. One more pass. Do that with the resonance. Pretty cool, huh?
Super cool. So what I think, it might be helpful, like we had a question about the Volca bass. What is the difference between Volca bass and a new bass, like new tube? What is a new tube?
So new tube is a technology that KORG did in development with another company called the Noritake company. And what it really is, and I'm just going to shut this for a second so I can talk, is this is a true vacuum tube that could be put onto a PCB. And it acts just like a tube, and it gives you the same kind of warmth and saturation we would expect from a big old tube that we would be putting into like a guitar amplifier or something like that. What they've done is they've taken that technology and put it onto an actual chip, and it really is a true tube. I know a lot of people have a hard time believing that, but it is a true actual tube triode. And in here, they found a way to use the tube as the main oscillator. So it's the oscillator. It oscillates
One of the
itself.
few, I'm hard pressed to think of another tube oscillator out there right now.
Me too.
Cool.
I don't think there is anything out there. And that's what also gives it kind of its own unique sound. Now, no dig on the Volca bass, because the Volca bass is absolutely incredible. The approach is a little different. It's a little bit more of like the classic type, bass stuff that you might be expecting from like, a bass computer. And it also has a three oscillator system. So those oscillators can do different things in the sequencer. You can kind of sequence them separately from each other. So it does a little bit more in that way. It also has the ability to kind of unison detune those 3 oscillators. So you get a little bit of a different characteristic from that. But make no mistake, the filter on this is different. The drive is different. And the way that it allows you to kind of stochastically, I think that's the word, to randomize things and have them change the pattern dramatically are here. So there's definitely no reason, if you want a lot of variety in what you're doing on the bass lines or even leads, because I mean, obviously you can still just transpose that, and we haven't even gotten there yet to see what that sounds like. But they all have their own unique characteristics. So Volca bass holds up on its own, as does New Bass.
For sure. I mean,
Yeah.
The second we got him in here, he plugged it in, you could hear that this thing sounds beefy. It sounds awesome. It's a wild little thing. And to see you use it like a groove box, like in its own right, is like so cool. Being battery powered and being able to do all those different functions is just wild.
Yeah, and that's always the philosophy of the Volca. I mean, they're always the same shape, always the same size. They fit in the system, and it's really cool is that you can just pick and choose and have your own custom studio. It goes wherever you want it to go.
Yeah.
Even if you want to be battery powered and take it out to the park and just jam, you can absolutely do that.
And especially with the Vulcan mix thing, I mean, that thing just was the cherry on top that just brings the whole family together and just makes it possible to do exactly that. Just completely, take the system anywhere and have it be the same everywhere.
Exactly. So it'll power up to 3 on its own. If you have 2 of them, you're powering up to 6, and you can chain them as well. So you could chain the sync. You could take the headphone out and run it into the aux of the second one. So you could see, like, you can kind of multiply the setup if you want to. There's really no limitation to how many you can kind of link together. And as far as audio sync, there's really, by itself, there's no limitation to that either. So you've got basically what would be the equivalent of like a MIDI sync just happening right there with anything. And this audio sync is on products like the Minilogue XD as well. So bigger products also have that audio sync on it. So if you're running in an ecosystem like this or an environment, there are a lot of KORG products that play really, really nicely together. You don't have to worry about running a separate MIDI out or even using USB to a computer to get them all synced up. And that makes it really sweet.
Super cool.
Yeah. I'm going to jump into the NTS one, the new tech KORG NTS one.
So you hit it right on the head. New tech. What the hell is New Tech? Lay it down for us.
Cool. So New Tech is a brand under the KORG umbrella. It's developed by KORG. You can see very plainly that it's got KORG on here in addition to New Tech as a logo. What this is KORG's DIY line. And what that means is it's not just necessarily synthesizers. So right now there are 3 products in the line. There is a overdrive pedal. There is this nifty little headphone amplifier with selectable op amps. And there's the synthesizer. So what puts them all together is that it's our DIY line. And so that's really the only thing that kind of chains them all together. You build every one of these products yourself. So this comes disassembled. It doesn't require soldering or anything like that. But you can get it together. It comes with tools. You get to put it together yourself, which really gives you this kind of like additional sense of ownership on the product. It's like, wow, I built this myself, and now I get to make music with it. Or I built this myself, and I get to like plug this into my guitar amplifier now, and I made this pedal. And there's also customization. Oh yeah, there you go.
I made this one. I made this guy right here. Sure did at NAMM. It's very special to me, and it sounds awesome.
Thank you. Let's hear it, shall we? I'm gonna use my stylus.
There you go.
Right. So let's just jump into what you can do with this. So I had the sound set up already, obviously, with the arpeggiator and everything, but I'm going to dial everything back just so you can see what's going on here. So first of all, each one of these switches, they have a lot of functionalities. So I'm going to take down all the effects. I'm going to just zero out everything, okay? I'm going to add the ADSR, the filter, okay, and then the oscillator. So reverb off. And the envelope generator down. Okay, cool. So first of all, with your oscillator, you get to choose your waveform. And as I mentioned, this is the multi-engine from the Minilogue XD and the Prologue. I'm using what was built into it, but you can also put new multi-engines into it. So the stuff that people are making online, you can load that right into this, which is really awesome. You got VPN here. You got some wave stuff. And then you have wave shaping. So
And it's so unassuming. I mean, it looks just like the Monotron from a couple years ago that was just, a really cool analog monophonic, little guy. And this is a whole other animal.
We have come a long way. It's interesting because the Monotron actually was our first analog synthesizer in this era. Yeah. And that just paved the way for products like MS-20 Mini, Minilogue.
It's funny that was the first little thing, and people didn't pick up it right away. And then and then people were like, "Oh my God, this thing is for real!" And then after that, when you guys released Minilogue, it was like out the gate. It was like that was one of the hottest synths I've ever seen. And to see the family grow has been super cool. And culminating in this thing, I think, is like you went Minilogue, Monologue, Prologue, and then this guy that's got all the guts of it in this tiny little package is unreal.
Telling you, and it just goes deep, man. I'm telling you, like, this is in the size of a Monotron. We've come full circle, and now we've got like this ultra powerful, compact little guy here. I've got it USB powered. Also does USB MIDI. There's also 3.5 millimeter MIDI on it. So if you got one of those cables, you can just plug that right in. You can play it with any keyboard you want as well. So there's just a ton of power. The filters, you have multiple. You got band pass. You got a couple of high passes. So all the filters are there. You choose the one that you want to use. You got your envelope generator, so there's ADSR, there's AHR, AR, which is just straight up. I think I got some like Super Mario stuff going on right now. But under the hood, there's also some stuff. So if you hit Pro the oscillator, you've got an LFO, and you can change the LFO. So I got the LFO doing a little bit of cutoff there. All right, and then into the effects, which really wake it up. So I'm going to throw, like I said, there's multiples in here. So I got chorus, ensemble, phaser, flanger. I'm just going to do an ensemble. I'm going to, cool. Delay. I'll do a mono delay in honor of Monotron. So this is your depth, and this is your speed. Okay, and then you got your reverb. So I got space reverb, my favorite. I love the space reverb, hands down my favorite one, because it's just like this really ridiculous echo. So here you go. And then, of course, it's got a full arpeggiator built in, and it's got a lot of capabilities as well. So I'm going to latch it first of all. Take down the do a band pass better. Take down the delay a little bit. There we go. And if you hold the arpeggiator button, you got all these things. You got major, sus, augmented, minor, diminished, octave. You can change the range, the speed, the direction.
It just blows me away still, all that you're cramming out of this tiny little thing. I mean, it's unbelievable, and it sounds incredible. So it's literally just it's the brain of a log system. Like, it's got that in it, right? Yep. And then so it's DIY that you can build it, but you can also like edit stuff, right? There's an SDK log editor or something like that.
Exactly. So yeah, we're scratching the surface with this because it's just using the stuff that comes with it. But you can load in, first of all, without any programming whatsoever. There are some additional multi-engines that you can find online. We have them at KORG.com. They're in other places as well. from the makers of it, and you could load that right in. You just drop it right in, and then it overtakes it, and then you have a whole new set of multi-parameters to play with as the basis, the oscillator. You could explore endlessly with this. You could take it, just drop in the multi that you want and take it to the gig, and then come back later, drop in another multi. If you're good at programming that kind of stuff, like if you're into programming, you can do an SDK, and you could be the one who's creating those multi-engines. So, and those are the guys who are, and gals who are putting those up right now. They are creating these multi-engines, and it's a pretty extensive library at this point. I mean, there's more and more coming out all the time. And those multi-engines are cross-compatible in the NTS1, the Minilogue XD, the Prologue, because they all have that multi-engine built into them. So we're porting that into different products.
It's wild. It's wild that you can turn this into literally anything. And I saw some of the packs you can load into it. I mean, it's like any synth you really want this thing to be, it can be.
Yes.
Unbelievable. For $99. I don't think we mentioned that yet. I don't normally like to mention price on things, but for $99, this thing is out of this world. It's really incredible. And it's made of metal. I mean, this is not just plastic. I mean, this thing is beefy. I can get a little closer to the screen so people can see it if they haven't seen it before.
Yep.
I mean, it's simple, but this thing is wild.
Yeah, you can fit a lot into something the size of an Altoid can, right?
Yeah, really.
Like and you're right, $99. It's there's so much in there for what it does. It's just crazy. Blows my mind every time.
Wild. So if you're just kind of tuning in, if you're joining us a little late, we have James here from KORG, and we're diving into some of these wild synths, and we are giving away one of these super sweet NTS1 synths. So tag a friend, tag a synth nut, tag another synthesist, keyboardist, producer, musician. Pretty much anyone can use this thing because it's a sick effects unit in addition to being a synth. So if you're anyone that makes music, you could probably find a use for this. Even if you're not, it's a crazy way to get into music. So tag a friend, and we will pick a winner at the end of the stream.
Thanks, man. Let's do a little jamming. Actually, first, I'll get a little bit more into the Monologue.
Yeah.
So the Monologue is a really interesting analog synthesizer. Again, built off the Minilogue platform as a monophonic analog engine. Dedicated analog drive circuit. Really great filter. A lot of control over the VCO. We have some stuff in here that's programmed already. Obviously, 16-step sequencer. That 16-step sequencer is both a note sequencer and a motion sequencer. You can grab up to 4 knobs on the panel and record them right into the sequence. And to kind of illustrate that, before we actually jump into the preset sounds, I just want to go ahead and write a quick sound with this as well. So we're going to start with an initialized program here. Cool. So we'll start here with the mixer, make sure both oscillators are up. And we have a choice between sync, ring on the secondary oscillator. That could be noise. I'm going to go like right here with it. Okay, and then here we choose our attack and decay, our ADSR. Cool. Our envelope intensity, and then we have an LFO. So the LFO can be towards pitch, shape, or cutoff. And that does go into the audio range too. Okay. And then you've got the sequencer, which is just really cool. So you can step record, or you can just freeform record. I'm going to step record. So I'm going to do. And then I did mention, of course, the motion sequencer. Let's do some of that. Record here. I'm going to do the cutoff. Still got room for 2 more. So what I want to do is I want to play around with the second VCO. Okay, so I'm going to set that down for a second, and I'm going to record this. There's also a key trigger, which means you can play in any key. So a lot of people ask us, well, does it have an arpeggiator? And no, it doesn't have an arpeggiator. It has better. I mean, you could basically use the sequencer as an arpeggiator because if you put the key trigger hold on, you can play in any key. So you basically have a customizable arpeggiator. Putting on that effect. So it goes from basses to leads, organs, to some really, really rhythmic stuff. And that's what makes it very cool. You know, the synthesizer is in and of itself really, really awesome for musical tones, but also because of the sequencer, you could do some really, really rhythmic stuff, especially when you set the motion sequencer to step, not smooth. So in other words, you can do something like this with the knob, but it'll only capture on or off. And that gives you stuff like this. Yeah, and they work really well together. Go here for a second. So, okay. And let me see. I'm going to go to program. I'm going to do 3 here. You notice that's like out of key a little bit. It's not the tuning, it's because the sequence was recorded in a different key, but you could just hit this and you can change the key. So you have full control over the transposition as well. So you can go a whole octave down, a whole octave up, or you can go by individual notes. See, that's 43, right? Okay, so I had some of these pre-programs to do. So let's play with that now. Now that we got a nice steady beat, I can show off the shift a little better. So, take down the reverb a little bit. So here's the shift. So function. Now listen to what happens to the pattern. Let's do the transposition as well. And then we can turn on the motion sequencer, and again, just like we just did on the monologue, you can come in and you can record different stuff. What else we got here? mention that cut also. So this is the cut. What else we got going on? Oh, I like that one. 6.
Crazy. So it's really cool. I was just thinking about, as you were jamming there, that the Log family is one of the few like new synths that have come out in recent history that have really like become an established, like, this is a synth line that people need to know about. There's you guys and a lot of other people make great recreations of some of the classic synths that set the stage for this stuff, but the Log family really is kind of its own thing. It's not pulling from yesteryear. It's not that's not an homage to anything. It's a whole new thing, and it acts and breathes like nothing else. Like, it's a completely new platform, and it's analog. I mean, it really is. Calling that a monophonic analog synthesizer, people think about it as one thing, but you were making drum sounds, you were making leads, basses. I mean, that thing is so wide in terms of what it can do, is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, we definitely love to put a lot of capability into the products and make it easy to use. That's always been like our philosophy. So we want to make sure that, musicians at no matter where they are in their career can just grab the product and really start to explore very quickly and easily and come up with some really, really incredible results very quickly. And you mentioned the Minilogue being something, unique on its own. Man, let me tell you, that was the entire philosophy. So when KORG designed that product, they said, okay, we did the MS-20 and of course the Mini, and that was, a great, true to form recreation of the original. And, Odyssey had come a few months later under the Art brand and stuff. But we wanted to do something that was completely different from anything that was out there on the market. And the engineering team, they started from the ground up. And that's what really makes Minilogue, like a future classic. As I don't want to be like, future classic. It really is a future classic because there's nothing else that sounds like it. There's nothing else that has that signal path. There's nothing else that has that sort of workflow and the way that the oscillators are set up and everything like that. And the choices on the filters and everything else. It is really its own unique synthesizer. It's not trying to be another synthesizer. It is just its own thing.
Which I'll say in the music industry is a dangerous move sometimes. I mean, it's I tell a lot of people, the music industry is one that loves to look to the past and base off of something else and either reimagine it or just bring it straight back. And we're very nostalgic people in the music industry, so it's a bold move to kind of come out and make something that is brand new. And it can be hit or miss. And you really did make something that filled a void, that was a true analog synth that has these features that, well, not a lot of other true analog synths really did and worked in that same way. I mean, me not being a keyboard player, I can come up to a Minilogue and riff out and have like the craziest time. And that's not the case for, an MS-20 Mini is a whole different animal to kind of get your hands on analog. So it's really cool and welcoming to like the world of analog synths and just synths in general, to be able to have something so accessible that is so deep and sounds so good.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And, we are acknowledging that, not everybody is exactly a keyboard player. I mean, there are people out there that just want something that sounds really good for their studio, and they just want to add a piece of gear just to make their production stand out in a different way. Or, somebody who just wants to start fiddling around with that kind of stuff. Like, you want some synth sounds. Okay, well, where do you go? You want something that's easy and instantaneous. And, in some cases, even with the smaller keys, you can see I'm okay. And I'm a keyboard player. I've been a keyboard player all my life. And I get around on them. But also the spacing allows for things like quicker lines, things like that. So the form factor of this is also very intentional. It's the right size for any level of player, anybody who needs any kind of level of synthesizer. I mentioned before earlier in the stream that we also have this keyboard E to E. That's unique. There's no other keyboard out on the market that has an E to E keyboard, and the reason for that is very purposeful, because we are acknowledging that there are, you know, bass players out there and guitar players that just want a synthesizer that they could really wrap their heads around quickly and make sounds with. And if you're playing those kinds of leads and lines and you're used to kind of like starting out in E, then you've got that here. And that's why I think we're doing so great with products like these, is because it's not just for the keyboard player. It's not just for, you know, a pro level guy. It's for anybody who just wants to dive in. And we just want to make that happen for everyone. And, you know, there's just, I mean, even right now, what's going on is a lot of people are just creating music in their homes all the time. Yep. And, you know, they're wanting to find new and innovative ways of doing that. And, you know, in everything on this table also happens to also do it, you know, very, very affordably. You know, we mentioned the $99 here. I mean, this synth is under $400. This is under $200. The Volca mix is under $150. So, I mean, you've got really, really capable tools that come with a lot of power, and, you know, at the same time, it's not going to break the bank. Yeah. You know,
and I mean, like, and it's not none of them are a one-trick pony. You know, all of these things. We heard the new bass, like sequence leads, and it also has some really percussive sort of, you know, ways to engage with that. Same with the Monologue. Same with the NewTek. I mean, every single one of these things can literally just like be anything you need it to be at that moment, and then you can explore sound and you can explore rhythms and things like that, which you can't do that on anything. You know, it's really awesome to be able to just have one product and have it do so many things for you.
Yeah, I mean, we're really proud of what the products offer to people, for musicians to you know, have fun with.
So we had a great question about NewTek. Yeah, there it is. So are there more NewTek items on the horizon? What's the path for NewTek?
The path for NewTek is bright. We're going to be seeing some other stuff. There was a couple of things that were actually shown at a different booth at the NAMM show this past year.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
And, you know, there are concepts out there. And so I am sure that there's going to be some new stuff on the horizon. When exactly or what it's going to be, you know, that I don't know. But I do know that, you know, NewTek is a line that we really, really have invested in, and it's one that we want to explore deeply. And as I said, it could be synthesizers, it could be anything. It could be effects processors, it could be overdrive pedals, it could be, you know, anything, like utility products. That's the beauty of something like this, where you're decidedly working with a small form factor and something that you can let people build themselves, is that you can kind of span the distance with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And just having that engine inside, I mean, just knowing the power that can be in something so unassuming. I can't wait to see what comes out next in this NewTek line, because that thing is insane.
Me too.
Why don't you dive a little bit more into some of the stuff you got going on and jam out a little more for us?
Sure thing. You got it. So that's just the Monologue right now. Try something fresh. turn off the low end on that. Motion sequencer. Bing.
Awesome. Are you running the audio into an interface, or are you running how are you getting the audio into the stream?
That's an excellent question. I am actually using another KORG product that's off camera right now, but it is it's our MW1608 mixer, which we debuted at NAMM. It's a full hybrid mixer, analog front end by Greg Mackey and Peter Watts, and then the effects section from KORG, and with a USB interface built into it. So all of this is basically coming out of the Volca mix, going into the first two channels of the mixer, and then I've got my microphone on there and and then I'm just USBing straight in. And it obviously makes it great for live streaming. It's super easy. Stereo USB output. You don't have to worry about mixing or modulating anything. It just goes straight through.
Sounds
it's working really well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's also worth noting that everything you have on your table is battery powered or can be powered by a USB brick if it has to be. So if you're itching to get outside and you've been stuck in home for a couple months now and you want to get outside and jam and you don't play acoustic guitar or anything like that, there's some cool stuff out there to make that happen. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
What else? What else do we need to know about the log line, about the new tech? I mean, what else is there to know? I mean, we've covered a lot. We've jammed. We've seen it all. What else is there?
I mean, what I would tell you is, if you're interested even in just the Vulcan New Bass, check out the entire line.
Yeah.
We have 10 of these. I think I have there we go.
There it is.
So as you can see, we have 10 Vulcas in the line now. We have definitely, come a long way with these. And Volca Bass, as we mentioned before, is a true analog bass synthesizer. Just quickly going through them. Volca Beats is hybrid. It's part analog tones and part PCM drum machine. Volca Drum is the newest drum machine. It's sort of like a physical modeling drum machine. It's a drum synthesizer. It's also the only Volca that has multiple timbres per part. So you could have a top part and a bottom part, and that allows you to mix and match sounds on each part, which is very cool.
And that Volca Drum is deep. I mean, that the screen on that one's different than the others, and it has a much richer menu set, and you can really dive into that thing. That blew me away seeing that for the first time. That the last three Volcas that you guys did, I think, stepped the game up big time. I mean, having the new bass, the Volca modular, and the Volca Drum are just kind of turn the heat up on that whole format.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's the newest generation, and they're all just incredibly they stand out just so so diversely, and it was so awesome. The Volca modular, of course, is a West Coast style, actually patchable Volca. So it's semi-modular, which means you don't have to patch it to make a noise, but it comes with actual patch cables, and each one of these sections is a module, and you could create your own. Basically, it's like a modular system in a Volca.
That thing, I mean, we in the last year, we started, diving into the whole modular format, and then you came out with that thing. And at first I was like, man, are people going to get these little tiny cables and stuff like that? That thing is creative. It's deep. It's wacky. It's as West Coast as it's supposed to be. And actually on the topic of modular, we got a pretty cool comment. I think this would be super cool. You don't have to confirm or deny, but to make a new tech format modular setup would be crazy. Think about it, KORG.
You know what? I would be a fan. You know what? And you know what? I'm sure that there's somebody over in Japan staying up late right now listening, going, that might be interesting.
Listen up, guys. You listen.
I'll throw them an email and say like, hey, this is a really cool idea that came up. We love feedback like that. Seriously, like, if we love ideas like that, we love to hear from fans who are just like, it would be really cool if you could do this. So thank you for that suggestion, and I assure that I will definitely pass that on to development.
Yeah, great question, Fran.
Yeah, so just rounding this out real quick, Volca Keys is true analog as well. It's got all different kinds of modes for the oscillator: unison, fifths, polyphonic. Volca Kick is an MS-20 inspired. Actually, it's actually an MS-20 oscillator and filter that's built into a product that's built for just kicks. But it also does bass lines and leads like incredibly, but it's got a lot of punch in it in case you want to use this as just a dedicated kick thing. Vulcan New Bass we went over in this stream. Volca Sample, super popular, PCM based. You can load in your own samples with it. It comes with a ton of samples. It's up to 10 parts of sample playback, and you have total control over those samples, pitch, start point, so on and so forth. It makes it a really, really versatile Volca. And then, of course, rounding it out, we have the Volca Mix. And that is just the most awesome utility Volca that powers up to 3 Volcas, syncs up to 3 Volcas, gives you performance capabilities like mute and cut, has the transport control and the tempo built in. And the other thing I want to just quickly point out that I didn't say is all of these also have speakers. Every single Volca, in addition to being battery powered, the other likeness is that they all have speakers built in. So even if you're not near something or have headphones to plug in, you can hear any one of these just by themselves. And that makes cool.
And the Mix has a set of speakers on it too, so it can kind of be like the master of everything, right? It can be the ultimate output for all of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That has its own set of speakers on. I have them off right now for the stream, but you just flip that switch and you turn them on, and you have stereo speakers right on the top, and you can hear everything that's coming through from any of your Volcas or any other products that are connected to it, including Monologue, Minilogue XD, Minilogue. Basically, anything that has our 9-volt adapter on it can be powered directly with the Volca Mix.
Super cool. Well, I think it's time we do our giveaway. So if you have been watching our stream here, we have been asking for your submissions to win one of these super sweet new techs. When you get it, don't be alarmed. It's going to come in a flat box, and you're going to put this thing together yourself, and it's super cool and super easy. I did it myself. See here. So without further ado, guys behind the scenes, show us the winner. Charlie Berry, my man, Charlie, congratulations. We'll reach out to you. We'll reach out to you after the stream and get you this NTS1 on its way to you, so you can show us what you can do with it. We'd love to see it when you're done with it. James, thanks so much for being here. Thanks to KORG. Thanks to all of you guys for jamming, for showing us what this stuff can do, and just diving down this synth rabbit hole with us.
Once again, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Good to see you again. Good to see you in the store. Much success, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, James. And for everyone else that's watching, tune in next week. Look out for the time. I think we're going to run at 6 o'clock, so we don't conflict with things happening at the store. Update for the store one more time. We are open for phase 1. What does that mean? We are open for curbside pickup, or you can give us a call. We got the sales team in the store. We can serve you curbside. We can serve you outside the store. We're all wearing our masks and being safe and maintaining distance as best we can. And if you have any questions at all, if you guys got ideas for the live streams or anything like that, hit us up. We have a dedicated email for live streams, so hit us up at live@chucklevins.com if there's something you want to see, if there's a brand you want to see, or something you'd like us to dive into. We're in the store now. These streams are just going to keep getting better and more fun. We got a really cool one next week. It sounds like we're going to have the guys from Zildjian on the stream. We're going to do a drum-related one, dive into cymbals, and just really get into it. So be on the lookout for the announcement for that one. And we got some great stuff coming with KORG and some other brands coming down the road. So guys, thank you so much for joining us for Chuck Levin's Live. And check us out online, chucklevins.com. Give us a shout at the store, 301-946-8808, or email us live@chucklevins.com. Like us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and we'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.